Baking is a very precise medium. You can't just eyeball it.
Well, and you take those recipes and try to put those on paper and you're like, no, grandma said it was a pinch.
I've seen that unit of measure in some Restaurant 365 databases. I'm not kidding.
Welcome to Restaurant 365 Presents Behind the Numbers, a show where we talk to restaurant owners, operators, chefs, kitchen managers, CFOs, everybody. We want to know what makes a successful restaurant tick. Before we get started, just a quick reminder, like and subscribe to the show wherever you're watching, and please consider leaving us a review. Helps us continue to bring you these incredible guests and conversations while growing and supporting our amazing restaurant community. And with that, I'm your host, Rich Sweeney.
And I'm Marc Cohen, and we were here with great friend of the show, David Selby. He's brand operations manager for Square One Concepts, which operates several restaurants across Arizona and California. He's a San Diego native. He's spent over 25 years in the restaurant and hospitality industries with companies such as the Brigantine Restaurant Group, Brinker International, TS Restaurants, Lowe's Hotels, and Prime State Concepts. He is focused on transforming his hospitality business analytics into operational success. David lives in Arizona with his wife, Laura, their three dogs, George, Rocky, and Tucker, and he enjoys traveling, hiking, fishing, surfing, and close to my heart, snowboarding. David, welcome to Behind the Numbers. Let's dig in.
Hey, pleasure to have you on. Yeah.
Well, I know we've conversed at many events and many webinars over the years, but we're finally going to get one on the books for our podcast. And we always like to start with sort of a big fundamental question. So what do you think is the most important thing you're doing in your restaurant's day-to-day, week-to-week operations? And what do you think other operators and owners should be doing?
Yeah, we, right now, we're really focused on the fundamentals at this point. Controlling our controllables, looking at our waste, looking at all of our variances, and then not only that, but our positioning in the restaurant sphere, where our concepts seem to thrive and building on our niche that we have and really getting into a fine-tuned, efficient restaurant model and making decisions that are data and factually based. I think that's the biggest, actionable insight is what we're looking for. And due to the tremendous amount of data that we have now, it's really finding those little diamonds in the rough that maybe we just didn't see before.
And how many locations do you have? So
right now we have 5.
Okay.
One of those being kind of like a Bourbon and Bones Junior, if you will.
Okay.
More of like a cozy lounge atmosphere with some of our highlightable, menu offerings, and then a slimmed down version of our main store's beverage program. So,
a little more
so that's
accessible.
one of them. Yeah. And then we are actually bringing another one on here next year. So
another Bourbon and Bones.
Yes, another Bourbon and Bones.
And so for the people that don't know, this is sort of high-end steakhouse, bourbon, whiskey.
Yeah, our claim to fame is just that, bourbon and the bones, right? So high-end steakhouse.
On brand.
Everything that's got bones with it, we got it. No bones about it as well. We do some higher end fish and crab, lobster. But then, bourbon and whiskey and that kind of atmosphere. And so, we carry over 800 bourbons and whiskeys by themselves, wow. 300 bottle wine lists, and really craft to table concept with our cocktails. So
how many ounces of whiskey you pour in a month?
Oh, man. So I did the numbers on that. And just by 2-ounce pours,
don't count when I come to visit.
Yeah.
Don't count that. It's gonna skew the numbers.
We're going to put a 5% cap on that just to make sure we have the variance there. Mm-hmm. It came out to 4,936 pours. And that's straight pours. That's not counting signature cocktails and things like that.
That's just on the rocks.
That's on the rocks or maybe with a beautiful ice ball that we've got.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And your total inventory per month, how many bottles you got these guys counting?
Oh, gosh. So right now, bottles-wise, items, just SKUs, we're looking at 2,100 right now, just in SKUs. And so quantify that by the number of bottles that we have, and they're counting about 6,000 bottles between wine and spirits and just the whole kit and caboodle. Yeah.
Just
Well,
a
thank
couple
goodness.
couple of things to count, you know.
Yeah.
Just a few. One of the biggest things that we worked on in the last few years was trying to get our labor hours, man hours down on our inventory, and that's been a huge success. We've shaved about 8 hours off of that process, and with the dearth, we're talking teams of 2, 4 deep, right? So there's 8 people counting every other week, and we've taken that from a 6-7 hour process per person down to about 4. So streamlining and aligning that has really helped their willingness to want to go through and count all that fun stuff.
What's the secret there? Did you like reorganize your stock count templates, or update your locations, or just make the sheets a little more sheet to shelf efficient? What were some of the wins?
Again, when we had built it out, we really tried to stay within the framework that we felt worked for us best, even before we had an automated system, and so that's been a win for us. But really, what it came down to was identifying the trouble areas in our holding. So certain areas in our restaurants just became this void, right? Like everybody knew it was there, but no one knew to count it, right? and then organization, obviously. We've been able to take our inventory carry costs down significantly, about 24% over the last year, and really starting to look at lean processes. But what that also did was it opened up a number of areas in our storage that allowed us to reconfigure and get reorganized. And so that was a little bit of some location changes, some modifications to where exactly we keep wine versus liquor, and so on and so forth. And then again, getting into those par levels. How much should you really have of this? And then setting aside that space for that amount of product. And so we've really gotten to this point where if it's not there, we don't have it in the restaurant.
And so before you had this army of people counting all these bottles of liquor.
They're dead bodies too.
All these bones with your bourbon. Where you've been in the industry for 25 years, where did you start? What was your first position in a restaurant?
Wildly enough, I started as a dishwasher. I was 15
common.
years old, and I really wanted a car. I really, really wanted a car badly. I thought I'd be the coolest guy in town if I had my car before I was 16, and so I started washing dishes over the summer at a little pastry shop down from my mother's interior design little shop that she had, and learned there. Really just became fascinated. Dishwashing is an art in itself, especially in a high volume, high paced area, and it's one of those jobs, that you have to understand that to grow into the bigger things. And I just became fascinated with pastry. I really got involved with the math and the how do you get something from, a weighted volume to a weight, right? I just became fascinated with all of that, all the numbers and the analytics behind it. And so from there, naturally went to school, and in my freshman year, it was worked at a little surf shop, and did that for about 3 months. Got tired of folding clothes, and so I learned how to fold pasta. Went back to on the border Brinker, and just worked from there. So started as a busser there and moved on the way up.
Dishwasher to pastry chef to busboy. Is this the journey? Rich, can you relate to this at all? Does this line up with your journey?
You did like the back and then the front and then the back and then the front. And then you skip now over to the office. I mean, I feel like there's always – everybody should do a little bit of both. I'm a firm believer that everyone should have to work in a restaurant, at least for some stretch of time in their life, just to understand it. But, I was kind of the same. I did like kind of a little bit of back and front. And then I worked in the front of house long enough to realize I don't like people. And then that's when I switched – kidding. But then that's when I switched back to the kitchen and realized, oh, wait a minute, these are the true misfits. These are my people. And then was like, well, wait, no, I guess I'm just going to go and do a TV show and own a restaurant and have to go and talk to people again. So then I was back up front. Yeah, a little bit of everything back and forth.
But David, I love that you were attracted to pastry because of the accuracy of it, right?
The numbers.
The number, which is sort of carried into how you're running your business today, which is kind of cool. You're clearly a numbers guy and always have been, which which I love. I've always been told, baking is a very precise medium. You can't just eyeball it,
Yeah.
Unless you're like somebody's like 80-something-year-old Nona who just like kind of looks at it and is like, no, that's too dry. You're like, you didn't even touch it. It's like, it's just too dry. I know. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and you take those recipes and try to put those on paper and you're like, no, grandma said it was a pinch. Like there's no,
right. What is a pinch?
Got it. It has to be a pinch and grandma's pinch. And
I've seen that unit of measure in some Restaurant 365 databases. I'm not kidding. And I'm like, how are you defining what that is? What is a pinch?
There's a whole training course behind it.
Yeah. It's a matter of that texture, on those fingertips. And so, going through school and everything, I'm very finance driven. I've always wanted to help people. And I think restaurants in their own right are a very human industry. There's not a touch point that's not touched by a human in restaurants. And so it's very significant in the terms of that bridge, right? And for me, being a chef myself and doing some culinary private chefing and catering through my years, I've seen it from a lot of different perspectives. And it's fascinating what many people come up with and how they build restaurants. It's just an amazing, fascinating success story for a lot of people.
And messy at times.
So... And very messy at times, very chaotic,
yes.
And there's some semblance to that too. So
that's why we're drawn to it, because we're all a bunch of psychopaths, apparently.
Can't escape the chaos.
A bunch of nuts with a lot of energy.
Working in kitchens and restaurants is like one of the few places where having ADHD is a superpower, because you don't need to focus on any one thing for too much time. You need to be like doing 12 different things all at once. So yeah, it was definitely one of those fun pieces. And then the chaos, especially when you're doing private chefing. I don't know if you had any fun, wild, crazy, interesting stories, but my favorite was when I got hired for a birthday party / divorce party. The games that were played at that.
Did they make a card for that? I don't think there's a greeting card.
I think they did. Hallmark makes something, I'm sure. It was definitely a wild one. And then found out afterwards that the client, when I got there, was actually someone who was on the Bad Girls Club. So I was like, oh, this all tracks. I now understand why we're doing all
now we're
this.
Coming to the head here. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I had one that was supposed to be a very basic 60-person kind of happy hour at somebody's house, tray passed hors d'oeuvres, simple cocktails. And it turned into me doing a knifeless standing party, making 8 different courses and plating them in martini glasses and margarita glasses because they didn't want to use knives. So we're talking standing rib roast. And not only that, my prep area was the laundry room.
Wild.
Because we couldn't have anybody out by the nice Italian espresso machine in the kitchen, me getting in the way of all of that. So I did 8 courses in standing martini glasses all night out of a laundry room.
Do you serve anything at Bourbon and Bones in a martini glass that is food based now? Has that carried over? Have you brought that experience?
It's
to the
coming
masses?
close. I'm not going to lie. It's something that these days and ages, it's wise to start experimenting, and that's something I want to bring back. I am curious
why the no knives. Like, what is happening at this event that they don't want anybody holding a knife?
Wait, was your client a Bad Girls Club girl too? Because I think that's where they start pulling the knives away.
Well, and apparently she also was a wildlife rescue person, and so there might have been a leopard in the backyard. I'm not sure, but there might have been something along that line.
Don't feed the kitty cat.
Yeah, and wild.
Yeah. So you go to dishwasher to pastry chef to busboy. You're right on the border, but then you do something you get into tech a little bit, and you come up with this recipe management solution. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So this was actually when I was private chefing. And, there were a few of us in the group, in the company that were really talented. And so what we did was we kind of made these quick fire recipes, and we built basically a book out of it.
We're just
right?
having PTSD. You said quick fire.
Yeah. So, but we put together these very streamlined recipes that came out looking very complex and very elegant, but using simple ingredients. And then again, getting involved with our local fishmongers and our farmers. And so we brought a seasonal type of menu, but it was easily distributable and then also adjustable. And so we built this kind of restaurant recipe management style of database where we could pull up for our clients. They're really into chicken, they love bell peppers, and they love, let's say, onions, right?
Okay.
And so you could plug this into the matrix and it would pull the recipes that we had that had those items in it, and with that kind of tailored experience, and we use that as custom menu bases for our clients. And so ended up getting approached by a precursor to a larger, prepackaged meal company, and they were really interested in that whole process, and they ended up buying it from us.
Wow.
And so, so that was 7 years in the making back, more than a decade ago. I think now, gosh, it was 15 years. Just really gave me a great idea into not only restaurants, but how can we mirror that in our restaurants now? Right. And so we've taken some of that and applied it, and it's worked out well. We even just recently we did a summer menu rollout for Bourbon and Bones, where I used that particular formula to kind of come together on what we should change and what we should be putting in this menu, and then not only align our costs with that menu, but then our vendors as well. So so it's worked out.
I'll say.
Nice. Used it before, came back around again, finding ways to, kind of tighten things up, especially to all the SKUs you guys have already. So how do you take the stuff you have and repurpose them, reuse them? Mm-hmm. I like it.
Yep.
Especially all those items that are sitting in that void in your restaurant that nobody's been looking at.
It's the chasm. And it was like an elephant's foot from Chernobyl for a minute there. Just everything just melted into one. And what are we going to do with all this stuff?
That's quite the image.
And got rid of it, turned it into profit, and now we're running really, really nicely. So.
And you're using Restaurant 365, obviously.
Of course.
You come over to Arizona. You start. Was that the first time you'd work in a steakhouse? Was when you came to Arizona?
In a true steakhouse. That was my first foray with Prime Steak Concepts out of Arizona. I've worked in the fine dining sphere more than I've worked in, fast casual QSR and types of things like that. So I've always been fairly well versed in the fine dining sphere, but this was my first true foray into a steakhouse. While the food side seems to be a little bit less complex, the beverage side is not so much. It is, that's where, that really sets you apart. I feel, and, there's so many things on the beverage side that we're able to do that other restaurants, aren't just not able to because of the model, so it really helps us out in a lot of ways.
I think part of that kind of goes back to like your pastry roots, right? I mean,
Totally.
the way that you're making and crafting a really great balanced cocktail is super precise with measurements and how you're doing it. I mean, being able to tie that experience before, kind of actually making food, but then bring it now into the pastry world with that kind of beverage world with that pastry precision. Too many P's.
Lots of P's. Speaking to the B's, it's exactly the same way with like bitters. When we're using bitters, are you dropping heavy bombs of bitters in your drinks, or is it too light dashes? And those ones are a little bit harder to quantify, but all of that is very exacting, and it's so important to have consistency in your operation as well. And so if you don't have accurate recipes and you don't have things in in place, and the processes and quality control in that as well, with batches and things of that nature, because we get a little wild with our, infusions, so to speak. It becomes a very important thing to instill in, especially a beverage program as sophisticated as what we have.
And so this first steakhouse you were at, this was the first time you'd used Restaurant 365? Was that sort of your first exposure to the software? And were they using it at the level you're using it today, or did they have it dialed in the way you currently have it at Bourbon and Bones, or was that something you sort of helped them get to?
We helped get there. In the time that I've been away from them, I'm sure that they are much further ahead than we were 7 years ago with the product. And at that time, we were really using it heavily for inventory, and that was basically the whole point. We had an even larger inventory carry over there than we do now, although we had far less SKUs. Very, very high volume steakhouse. And so to control all of that, control waste, that was where 365 became a bright spot for us over there. And over time, 365 has just evolved into this amazing, very helpful solution for restaurants, especially in the operations and accounting departments. It's been a tremendous benefit for us, and even going further into the job that the company that I'm working with now. I can't say how many hours it has saved us just in terms of operations
and dollars.
It's exactly right. And I use another example on the food side where I had to pull up our produce, not sales, but our produce purchases for the last 6 months, and then juxtapose those to the prior year. And that process before 365 would have taken probably 2 weeks to finally get everything. Mm-hmm. It would have taken a pretty sizable effort. And I did that in less than 3 hours, the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
And that right there, I mean, if you're quantifying that into dollars, that's something. Not only that, but the headaches that I saved myself over those 2 weeks, right? Turning that into a 2.5 hour process, has been just such a tremendous benefit to what we were doing, and it allows us to pivot. Yeah.
And when you joined Bourbon and Bones, how many locations did they have?
We had one.
You had
one Bourbon and Bones. Yeah. We're a restaurant group. We have a few different concepts, but really it was one. We had one store.
And so you get there, and they had our 365 when you showed up?
No.
Oh.
We didn't.
Oh.
Okay.
We did not. So started with it there. Into when I had started, we again were using Excel. And when I came in, there wasn't a lot of advanced Excel being used. It was fairly, simple. Being that was the only tool that we had right then, I started to develop alongside that and build in some more advanced reporting just from the Excel side. And so it got to this point where just maintaining those Excel sheets was just a full-on process. It was, here we go again with inventory counts and month end and all that
very
fun.
Common.
And so, but it was very quick transition. We did that for about 9 months or so, and then 365 came along right there. So it was a very quick transition from Excel to 365 with Square One.
And I love seeing, Rich, I'm sure you see this all the time too. Like I love seeing now that, we've been around for long enough now that you can leave one restaurant group, go to another one, and it's the same software. And you can be like, hey, I know this. Like, I know how to use this. Yeah. I know exactly what to do with this. Like I love that.
And it's such a universal thing. The other people that I speak with that use 365, we get into these conversations where it's like an hour and a half or 2 hours, and we're like, and this, and did you see this?
Out.
And, oh my gosh, we just want to go attack things in there, trouble spots that we've been trying to get to and just haven't, it's like, let's get together and, tackle these things. And not only that, but the buy-in from the staff, that's a tremendous thing. It doesn't make you feel like in my position where you're just kind of a lone ranger, trying to direct a massive ship. When you have buy-in from your managers and your employees and people that are helping, they are the ones that are helping to support all of these changes, and not only that, but the analytics to support the analytics. So.
And when you get that buy-in, that's when you've got, you're now bringing them a solution and a tool to help make their lives easier, so that when they count inventory, they can shave to hours off of those inventory counts, and then they're not dreading having to go and do it. I mean, nobody enjoys getting up super early to go do inventory, but at least if you can make it a little less painful, it's way easier to get folks bought into it, using it, wanting to learn more about how it works, how it comes together, and ultimately what that does for the business.
Yeah. The metric that always comes up at like our restaurant transformation tours that I hear from everybody is like, I know it's working when they start asking the right questions. Like that's when they've bought in, but they also understand like the why and the how behind it. Like they're asking me the right questions and they're answering their own questions now, right? Like that's so transformative. And that's one of the best things about those transformation tours. You've been to one. Rich and I go to them all the time. Like seeing other users interact with each other, that's the best part. Like I love getting FaceTime with users, but having you guys geek out together over the product, that's priceless. That's just makes you, it not only for me, but I think for everybody involved in those conversations, it's more validation, right? And when you hear of others doing things, I get jealous, to be honest with you. When I hear somebody that's doing some things that we're just not doing yet and we're just not quite there, I'm like, man, I just really want to get there. And so you get into these conversations. How did you do it? How did you, what's the process that you used to build it? When did you release it to live, so to speak, to your people? When you were done testing, how long did that take? And then really driving those results and keeping the data accurate. That was the biggest thing. I think over the years, I've sat in many P&Ls where you have questions on those numbers, right? You're going, we worked really hard on that specific area, operating supplies, let's just say, and you're not seeing those numbers drop. You go, is it me or is it the numbers? Is it the system? And there's some sort of defense to your empirical, well-being and how you operate through the day, that those numbers can scream things that maybe don't make sense. And I think with 365, it's turned that corner for us where we can say that this is the reason why, and now you can go and look at it. You can see the raw data. You can see where we're pulling all this information from anyway. And so again, you get in there, and if you're saying there's an issue, let's find that issue. Let's find it. Mm-hmm. It's not something that cannot be adjusted, but if it's correct, then now it's right? Actionable. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you guys started using it with one location, and then more concepts, more locations. So what was that growth looking like? From when you started with Square One to now.
Well, the growth has been fantastic in terms of our ease of scalability. We went from the first store to the second one, and when we did that, we weren't fully built into 365 yet. And I say that with the sense of how difficult store number 2 was for us to open versus 3, 4, and 5 when we had 365 already built and kind of moving along. And in our processes, we were able to quickly get those restaurants, I should say, up and at least square with their beginning balances, right? With their beginning, what do we bring into the table? Where are our purchases and all of that stuff? And so for us, again, it was a learning curve. I'm not going to say it wasn't with 365 for me personally as well. It was something where you had to learn the language, right? Mm-hmm. And, did it take that long? Not really. The build out process for just the beverage program and our food was considerable just due to the nature of how many items we had. Yeah, right. That was the issue. And it took us about 6 to 9 months to get that up to speed. But again, going from 1 to 2 when we didn't have any processes really in place, didn't really know what we wanted to do with the entire brand. And then once we got number 2 up and running and we saw that, okay, these are the things we're going to do for the brand for the rest of these restaurants. That's where the 365 helped us bridge all of that growth just tremendously. Even down to catching errors where like, oh, you charged us, let's say $6,000 more product than you actually delivered on our startup. You gave me a $12,000 bill and we got $6,000 worth of product.
You don't have to name names, but who did that?
I just
come on.
Starts with one of those letters in the alphabet. It's a shorter, very simple name, but
But to your point now, you can also see that across your locations, right? So like, you're all the Bourbon and Bones are in Arizona,
yes,
right? So you're all ordering from the same people, so you all should be paying the same price across the board.
Yep.
Are you right?
And just last week, we were not paying $53 a pound. We were paying $72
at one store.
At one store, and paying $53 over at another for the same product. And back before 365, that would have been like hey, I smell something funny, but I can't figure out what it is. And let's go, let's spend the 3 weeks figuring that out. Past quarterly bonuses and everything and all that nature. Right. So
and it's too late.
Yes. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind, and I couldn't, at this point now with where 365 is at and us, this next one that's coming online in March is already being planned out. We already have the playbook. We already have our processes in place. We already have that plug and play ability so that one of our GMs that I'm thinking we're going to bring over to that new store already has the tools and the fundamentals to get up and run quickly without, because again, you go and open a new restaurant, the biggest hurdles you have as a GM is your staffing and your labor. And so by having this all kind of set up for you and at least familiar, it alleviates another one of those pain points that you have as a GM, in the setup of a new restaurant.
And it makes it, easier to keep growing and scaling. You have a system that works. You have tools that work. Who you are and what you're making and how you're going to do it and what you should be paying for those products. Yeah. So it makes it a lot simpler to keep duplicating that process and growing, so that when you let me know you guys are coming out to San Diego with that location, then then it's Bourbon, Bones, and Bears. Just might as well throw myself into it.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's a different concept, Rich.
B and B.
Yeah,
triple B. We're going to go triple B.
Where is the new store going to be, David?
It's going to be North Scottsdale.
Okay.
So
that's a good spot for a restaurant.
Just
like that.
Up in Pinnacle Peak area there.
Okay.
Just on the foothills, and then from there, there is talk of the interstate battle, and so potentially Utah, potentially Tennessee. And again, with the ability to make the changes that we can and get the data as quickly as we can now, it makes changing and pivoting really, really easy for us.
I like this idea of plug and play, I believe is what you said. I love that. So do you think you probably have the largest beverage program in the state of Arizona? Would you argue?
I would argue it. I would definitely argue it. That it would probably be a little bit of a trial, but I do know of one other group down in Tucson.
Okay.
And I believe they do have the true number one spot, but they do donuts. They do donuts and whiskey.
Okay.
And that's what they do. So
I'm not mad about that either.
I mean, that sounds like the perfect fit for you, David. It's pastry and
that's
whiskey.
What I was going to bring into our dessert line, talking about pastry. Let's get some donuts fired up, some maple bacon bars with some pork belly on top.
There you go.
I'm all about it. Yeah.
Bourbon, bones, and beignets.
And beignets. There we go. I love it. But no, we are solidly the number two beverage program in Arizona. There's nobody bigger than us in the fine dining space, and or casual. This again, who our competitor I was talking about, that's more of a bar.
Okay.
So not exactly fair to have equivalents on, but nonetheless a bigger beverage program than what we have. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What's the most expensive bottle of whiskey you got?
Well, that Mac M certainly staring me in the face. But I honestly, gosh, the most expensive that we have, because we have a few of them, fortunately or unfortunately in my world. But Glenfiddich 40 is 40 year.
Okay.
Comes in this beautiful hand-cut marble vase that the bottle's inside, and for about 2 weeks none of us could figure out how to open the marble base.
That sounds like a flaw.
We're like, press the button and then there's no instructions there, but that one is $7,200 for us, so a very close
and you might not
tie between that and that. Yeah. Please don't drop it. Please don't.
Well, I have to ask you that. I mean, I remember when we first started talking, I asked why we're talking about everything you can do in Restaurant 365 and all the things you want to do, right? You get inspired by hearing and one of them was barcode scanning. And you said, yeah, that's never going to happen in a restaurant. Because if somebody drops that bottle, that is the largest waste log in the history of Restaurant 365.
Just that number alone. I was like, was that a BEO? No, that was a drop.
That was a drop. So eyeball it.
The feeling in my throat right now, just when you said, like, yeah, if somebody drops it, I'm just like, no.
Just the pain right in the rear. I can't tell if it's my kidney or if it's my spleen. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, for barcoding, if we had a smaller beverage program, it would definitely make more sense. But with just the amount of product that we have and the consistent shifting of all that, and let alone the risk in dropping those bottles, but the time it takes to even get those big fancy bottles down from their beautiful purchase, just didn't make a lot of sense for us. Yeah. No.
They can just eyeball it. It's fine.
Just look at it. Look at it from afar.
Yeah,
nobody close enough to touch it. It's fine. Just look at it.
That's right. Yep. And we can see when you touched it as well. So
yeah, we've got cameras everywhere, as you should with that much inventory.
Right. Right.
So next up, store number 6. What about for Restaurant 365? Is there anything you're not doing with the solution that you want to start leveraging more of or doing more with it?
Honestly, I'd really like to get into workforce. I'd really like to get into some training, some expand share. Okay. That type of stuff. With the size of our beverage program, I think one of our consistent struggles is product knowledge, and learning for our staff and our servers to highlight the best things about each product that we have. And that, just to get comfortable with our beverage program as, let's say, a bartender, we're expecting 6 to 9 months before you really have a good grasp on not only the specialty cocktails, but the difference between, let's say, a bottle of Screaming Eagle and Screaming Eagle the First Flight, right? The bottles are very similar.
Educate us. I don't know the difference. Do you know the difference, Rich? I don't know.
I have no. I would love to try both. I know that.
Yes. Well, and I've only been able to try Screaming Eagle once, and I got a very small amount of it. But so those bottles, the Screaming Eagle itself is a full 100% cab. The First Flight is a blend, so you have a little bit more Cab Franc in there, but it's all first growth.
Okay.
The difference between the bottles, if you looked at them, is very insignificant. One has a purple label, one has a red label, but they look exactly the same. And the difference between those bottles in terms of cost is about $3,200.
That's what I wanted to know. So
that's where
somebody
we're going
could
with
grab
this.
The wrong bottle during service.
100%. And now that's an extreme example, right? But it is something that is extreme in our restaurants. And then, even down to some of our by the glasses. We have 2 different by the glasses of Lesage. One is their Grand Cru and the other one is their Saint Emilion. The difference between those is roughly $10 a bottle. But the point is that are we selling and are we moving the right product? And not only that, but for our pricing. And so that type of education with the whiskey world is so diverse now. It's kind of becoming its own craft beer scene, but with whiskey. And so you've got thousands of different line items and specialty one-off production bottles and so on and so forth. And so, the general knowledge of what is a bourbon, what is a whiskey, what's a rye,
Right.
and then where do our offerings fit into those categories, and understanding those palate notes, because it's very much that two whiskeys are not alike. And so when you have a guest that's looking for a spicy rye, you don't want to go for a wheated bourbon, right?
Well, I'm gonna put that on a T-shirt. But this goes back to what you were talking, the consistency, right? Like this
Right.
is sort of critical, especially for a high-end concept like yours. It's you want to
it's
make sure if
critical.
I'm going to Bourbon and Bones number 1 and then I'm going to number 6 that I'm getting the same experience and it's consistent across the
100%.
board. Yeah.
Yeah. Crucial to keep the concept as a concept and as its own brand, and not have stores that tend to lean into this individuality, where I'll only go to this store, but I'm not going to go to that store in that location because of X, Y, and Z, right? So
Making it that plug and play, right? You got to have that consistency. Starts with the good tools and the foundation, teaching everybody the same way that we do this here, we do it there every single time. So like Marc said, anytime somebody walks into one, feels just like walking into any of the others, in that warm, cozy kind of, not like the cookie cutter sterile type way, but what you're expecting, and it always meets that bar.
expectations, right? Expectations are matching reality no matter where you are on the planet. So,
and then hopefully you don't
one.
get somebody who's colorblind and grabs the wrong color label wine bottle.
$3,200
I pray not.
steak. Woo.
We have some redundancy built into the system, and I hope that we're following it. You know?
Good, smart man.
Yes.
So one of the things we always like to do, when we're nearing the end of these recordings, is get a hot take from you, David. What's a hot take on the industry you got? Something you love, something you hate, something you want to see go away or come back?
My biggest thing that I wish would be more commonplace is less separate checks. To be honest with you,
Okay.
And that's one of them. And the reasons for that is, we're at the day and age where, you should be knowing what you're ordering. And if you're all sitting at the same table and enjoying each other, treat it as its own event, right? When you come in, and then if you are going to split the tab, tell me before you go and order everything for 12 people and split with Aunt Linda on the corner of the table all the way over there with your appetizers and things like that. That's one of the things that I've always wished would just, try to be human to each other, and not so financial. But no, really, in terms of the industry, I really feel strongly about utilizing and leveraging the technology that's out there in these days and ages that we didn't have. And we might have had some things back 15, 20 years ago, but let's face it, there's so much more out there that's really restaurant specific. And it can really help you leverage and transform your entire business, whether or not you've been in business for 40 years or you've been in business for 4 months. And I really feel strongly that if restaurateurs are not leveraging their tech stack and leveraging the right data, you will get left behind. And
you're leaving money on the table for sure.
No, 100%. And not only that, but the amount of competition, and in Arizona, especially in growing markets, you might be the only one for a few years, but you're not going to be it forever.
Correct.
And so understanding that and utilizing the data is there to help you, not hurt you. I feel like sometimes operators will look at data and they don't want to look at it, right? They just, I don't want to see the bottom line. And at the end of the day, it's necessity. And if you don't know where the issues are, where your pain points are, and how to identify them, you're not going to be able to solve them.
No.
And so it's just tremendous. There's a lot of ability out there right now for people that leverage it and that adopt it. I think the buy-in is much easier than it has been in the past years in terms of utilization down to the management staff and employees. And it's just so crucial these days. I can't say it enough. People do like to change far quicker in terms of, social media and things like that. What's hot today is not necessarily tomorrow, and you have to be a leader in that. You have to be identifying those trends and learning how to take those trends and translate it into your business operations without killing your core business. And
Yes.
The only way you can do that, right? And the only way you can do that is by using the data that we now have. So that's what I would say.
I love that David, the numbers guy, his hot take is when it comes to splitting the check, you do the math.
Yeah. Come on.
I love it.
Help me help you,
That's
guys.
a good hot take.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, hey, David, I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for joining us today. If people want to find David, he's on LinkedIn. Square One's restaurants are online, squareoneconceptsinc.com. If you're in Arizona, be sure to check out Bourbon and Bones or Wasted Grains, which is the new sort of bar concept you guys have spun up. And
Nightlife hotspot.
yeah, I love it. And if you're in SoCal, be sure to catch up with them at the PB Shore Club in San Diego.
Yeah, come on out
That's
to San
right.
Diego. Come hang out with me. We'll go to
Let
PB.
Rich know you're coming.
We'll chill
I've been
out there.
meaning to put this whole trip into motion, Rich. So I'll be hitting you up soon. I
I
promise.
love it. We're gonna go hang out at Shore Club. David, loved having you on, and everybody who's checking us out, thank you for joining us. We hope you have a great day, a great shift, a great week, and wherever your restaurant may be. Don't forget, if you got time to lean, you've got time to listen while you clean. So like and subscribe everywhere. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you like to listen. And you can follow us across all social media on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. And of course, you can always visit us at restaurant365.com.